Hello and welcome back. This is episode 6 of Import-Export File Formats, and today's episode is all about the STL, a classic format used for 3D printing. It's simple, lightweight and universally recognised by slicing software, making it the go-to choice for prototypes and single colour prints. So what is it? STL, which stands for Stereolithography, is a format that is the classic 3D printing format, as it stores only triangles, there is no colour and no texture. So when would we use STLs? We use STLs primarily for single colour 3D printing and prototyping. The pros of using STL is they are universally recognised, they have small file sizes and are fast to process. The cons of STLs are there's no colour or texture and they are not suitable for multicolour prints. So STLs, quite simple, very quick presentation, and in an overview they are the minimal 3D printing format that stores triangle geometry only. There is no colour. It's fast and universally accepted by slicers. So now we'll run through the export settings and a slicer preview so your model prints reliably. So, now that we've gone through STL in theory, we can now look at it in practice. So to begin, like all the other ones, we're going to make our collection called STL, and because this is primarily based on 3D printing, it will basically be a matter of you making your own objects. So for example, if I made this cube, if I made Suzanne, and we just scale her down a bit, and if I bring in an icosphere, like so, and there's basically quite a few things that we can do. So if we add, for example, a subdivision surface on this icosphere and select all three of these objects, what we can do is we can export them, and then if we make our folder called STL, and then what we can do is we can batch them so they export individually. So we'd have 3 files, for example. Selection only, of course, is so we've got this. Forward Y, Z up, and then we've got our geometry in which we can apply our modifiers. So I'm just going to leave those off for now, and then what this should be is this will be STL, and then because we haven't got the batch selected, this should be STL packed basically. So we should get all of these at the same time, all in one file. So if we go to import and STL and bring in our STL packed, you can see it's all one object. It's basically joined them in a sense, so they're individual here but they're packed in the playground as one object. We can eventually go in and separate by loose parts and we get them all individually this way, but that's not what we selected. So if I just undo all that now, and then what we can do is, and we will see our icosphere is still pointy, so if we come over to our file types and then go file and export STL, and then we do them as a batch and apply the modifiers. So this should be basically individual smooth, like so. So if we export that, and then if we go into our playground, we'll move this back a little bit there, and then what we can do is import our STL, and we'll see that they're individual. So we've got cube, we've got icosphere, we've got Suzanne. So basically it's taken our file format in terms of us typing down here saying STL individual smooth, and then it's called it the object after. So we've got cube, icosphere and Suzanne, sorry. So we import Suzanne, or we can import multiple at the same time by simply selecting these two and then import STL. And there you go, we've got our individual ones with our modifier applied, and then we've got our packed version and it's not been applied. So at the minute, that is basically us creating our own STLs, for example. So what we can do is, at the minute I'm currently making a series on printing props from Project Hail Mary. So it's a Rocky statue and a the statue made by Rocky for Ryland Grace. So what I can do is I can showcase what I've got somewhat here. So if we go to File and Import and go to STL, I don't have any files immediately here. So if I just go into my, if if I just go into my folder where Rocky is currently sitting, and then we'll bring in the unsupported statue, for example. So we'll copy him there, and then we'll just bring him into our downloads, file types, STL, and then we'll just print him or paste him there. Okay, so if we were to import Rocky, basically, who is called statue unsupported, and he is huge. So what we can see is basically, yeah, he's 70 odd meters tall. So if we just really bring him down to earth, as it were, and then just make him I mean, we're not actually 3D printing these, so it doesn't entirely matter all that much, but we'll treat it like we are. So what we can do is, for example, the print bed of a typical 3D printer, mine is 30 centimeters, so there is no way that this is fitting on there. But basically what we do is we just scale that down to, say, 20 centimeters. We scale this down to 22 as well, 20 as well. So we've got 209, 202, and then we'll have an even smaller one, like, there you go, 127, 176, something like that. So yeah, even with Rocky, we basically just import him like we do any STL. We can then go in, we can, you know, edit, for example, we can pull faces like so, and then we can re-export him. But for now, what we do is so we need to make sure that, one, our scale is applied for these. So if we go to item, apply scale, and apply scale. And then what we can do is, if we go to export STL, and then if we do STL export, and then we want them individually. So if we just do a batch, I believe it is. So if we just do, if we do 3D print, and then we call this STL export. So for individual, that helps, because what we want to do is, if we are going to pack them together, we probably want to bring them much closer together. So I'm just going to do that and put that there. And then if we bring them on the X to the world center, then what we can do is we can export STL, and then we won't batch them. We'll apply modifiers, and then we'll just call this STL export packed. So I use Creality for my 3D printing. I have a Creality printer, so it's Creality software that I use. And then what we can do is, if we look at our folder here, we've got our 3D print folder. So if we pull in our packed version, they're all there. And yeah, that's basically that. Whereas if we pull in our individual ones, so this should be 20.2 centimeters. So as we can see, it's 2022, so 202 millimeters. I believe the icosphere was, let's see, 192, 193, 194. So if we go to our file types, we should see it's so 193 basically, 193 as well, then 194, 193, 193, 194. They don't appear to line up, but if we apply this, there we go, 193, 193, 194. So yeah, the dimensions are before the subdivision, because if we cancel that, it's that big. And Suzanne is 176, 11, 127. And what we can do is remove that one, bring in Suzanne, and she is 176, 127, 1097, 176, 11, 127. She's basically there. There's too many numbers that I just read out myself. Anyway, yeah, so this is basically what would happen, and then you just go through your whole 3D print setup. You'll slice it, for example, and then you'll see how long it takes, see how much filament it takes if you use an FDM printer like I do. And then yeah, that is basically STL in a nutshell. So now we can move on to the next file format, which will be FBX. So I'll see you there.